Good morning, everybody. Welcome to the decision session for Environment and Climate Emergency. It's Tuesday, the 20th of May, 2025 at 10 o'clock. And with me, I have James Gilchrist, Director of Transport, and Guy Hanson. And Guy, I don't know your official title because it's facing the other way.
Design Conservation Manager.
Wonderful, thank you. And also Rhys Williams from Democratic Services. I've received no apologies for absence this morning, and I have no declaration of interest to make. Does anyone else in the room have an interest in anything here? Wonderful. In that case, I'm very happy to sign the minutes of the previous session held on the 29th of April 2025 as being correct. And I think we have one speaker in terms of public participation, so I will hand over to our speaker.
Thank you, Councillor Kent. I'm Councillor Baxter and I am very proud to represent the Hull Road ward and particularly Hull Road Park. Hull Road Park is a true centrepiece of my ward and rightly deserves the attention and investment that this administration has given. I'm delighted that in the budget, the administration committed an extra $500,000 for our parks across the city, suburbs and villages within CYC. As a ward councillor for the ward, I spend a lot of time working with students and non-students, and I'm always banging about integration between the two communities living and working together. And there's no better example than this than our park. Our tennis courts are incredibly well used by everyone in our ward and further afield, especially with the recent upgrades, including the new tennis nets. And it's particularly special that you don't have to pay to use them. Anyone can turn up, which shows the true values of Hull Road Ward. In the park, I'm so pleased that we finally got the Friends of Hull Road Park group set up, and myself and other colleagues have been working for a long time to get this established. We've seen how successful they are across the city, and I'm so pleased that we've now got one in Hull Road Park, and I can't wait to see what they deliver. I know that the wonderful volunteers, both of the TCV, any other groups that we have come into the park, companies as well, and also the Friends of Group are working towards green flag status, which I'm sure Councillor Kent fully endorses. And I know that we aren't there yet and that there's been drastic improvements so far and that we'll continue to work with them. And that the Friends of Group are eagerly waiting for the surveyor to come into the park and access the beck. But I'm pleased that the water quality has drastically improved with the recent changes and the stats prove that. I just wanted to end with a thanks to our public realm team who work incredibly hard to keep our city clean and tidy and looking fabulous. But I know that they've worked extensively hard in our park over the last couple of years, and I'm really thankful to the officers that engaged with myself, Councillor Pavlovic, Councillor Maroney, and the Friends of Group, and also thank you to Councillor Kent for engaging with us on this issue. I'm really pleased that my ward has shown how passionate they are about this, and it really shows that when you get people together and around the table that you can make a huge difference, and I know that we've already made that in the park and we'll continue to make it. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Baxter. I'd just like to endorse what you've said. I have visited Hull Road Park with yourself and with colleagues on a number of occasions, and every time those tennis courts are thriving. There are lots of people making different uses of the park. The men's shed is active. It's great to see, and it's a genuinely thriving community. And I was really happy to attend the most recent Friends of Hull Road Park meeting last week. And we heard from Rachel from TCV, who runs volunteer sessions on a almost 3 times a week basis at some points. And she was particularly full of praise for students who during the weekday fit in volunteering in the park to help out in between lectures and what have you. It was fantastic to hear how integrated that community is and what support students and other people in the ward all give to it. I completely second your hopes for the Parks Investment Fund and for the future of it. And we also heard from Christina Davey, one of our eco officers, who is organising a session with York Cares in the autumn to change the planters and refresh those, which will also further improve that approach road. So all in all, his great hopes for the Friends stepping forwards and playing their role to improve the park and all of us working together to achieve the best. Thank you. Thank you. That brings us to item 5, North Yorkshire and York Local Nature Recovery Strategy, a consultation draft. Is that you, Guy, or is James who's addressing? Over to you, Guy. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. I'll just briefly give a couple of minutes sort of overview of the subject report, basically reading from the the first page of the paper that was published. So to say there's a new system of spatial strategies for nature recovery legislated for in the Environment Act 2021. These are called local nature recovery strategies. The strategy for the council's geography is called the North Yorkshire and York Local Nature Recovery Strategy. Its production is led by North Yorkshire Council with support of the council. And the report briefly sets out the process of developing the LNRS to date to demonstrate that an appropriate process has been carried out during this time. And then the two items of the decision, the council is about to receive the final parts of a pre-consultation draft on the strategy, which are the same documents that are intended to be used for a public consultation. We will then be at a stage under the LNRS regulations 2023 when the council can give our support or objections to a decision by North Yorkshire Council to publicly consult on the draft strategy. This report asks for a decision on the council's position to be delegated to the head of strategic planning policy. Just to briefly explain that a little bit more, when we enter a period of 28 days statutory notice is when all the final parts of the strategy are received. We're not quite sure when that date is going to be. It's potentially going to be this week. At the time of writing the paper, it was going to be a couple of weeks ago. So it's slightly fluid. And also the 28 days doesn't give us a great deal of time to analyse and write a paper. So the reason is to delegate the decision to officers so that we can spend the appropriate time reading the final parts of the strategy and make our recommendations. As further background to that element, you know, the council have been working in close collaboration with North Yorkshire Council for several years now. And I think this particular part of the decision is really around the regulations as written several years ago to cope with situations across the country where perhaps relationships between different parts of neighbouring authorities weren't as good. But I think we've had very good relationships with North Yorkshire Council. And then the second item of decision is, other than the above considerations, this report does not consider details of the draft strategy subject. Well, I've written here subject to council not objecting at this stage, but it could potentially be in addition to. It is intended that the detailed council comments on the draft strategy will be provided to North Yorkshire Council at a later date, and this report asks for submission of those comments to be delegated ahead of strategic planning policy. At the moment, we're anticipating returning comments sometime in June, but it depends on the publication of the final parts of the strategy. That's the nature of the report.
Thank you, Guy. That's helpful. And just to second the what you've said about the close working with North Yorkshire Council, they've kept me well briefed on a monthly basis or bi-monthly basis for the last, well, since the inception of the local nature recovery strategy consultation. And so I'm confident that we're fully informed and that you'll have all the details you need to make the right decisions when it comes to it. So I'm very happy to delegate as this report asks for. I also want to just support the aims of the local nature recovery strategy. It's impossible to map everything, but mapping something and where they're starting, we've had conversations about is it too big for some areas and too small for others, but I think it's a really I think they've arrived at a really good solution which helps us work within it on a smaller scale, but also connect to other areas around us. And I'm really hoping that the government provides funding or direction to actually deliver most of this when it comes into being. But meanwhile, we also are taking action ourselves on a smaller scale. And I know as City of York Council is working as part of YPIT partnership to look at how to deliver aspects of the local nature recovery strategy on a ward level in a smaller scale. So it's helping to inform the big and the small picture. So I thoroughly support this, and I'm very happy to make the recommendation at paragraph 21. So note the work that's been undertaken in relation to the North Yorkshire and York Local Nature Recovery Strategy. Also to agree to delegate authority to the head of strategic planning to decide an action number A, which is to provide written consent to a public consultation on the draft North Yorkshire and York Local Nature Recovery Strategy. I guess, do I also have to give you the option to object to it if that is do I have to give you both freedom to do either?
I think in delegating, you give us the freedom. In the sort of the reason section of the recommendations, we try to give an indication of what the likely position is going to be. But it's just technically we're not in receipt of all the documentation. So hence the recommendation to delegate.
Okay,
And I think the A, B and C sections were recommended by our legal team just because those are the options. You know, there is, you can object, you can give consent, or you could do nothing. So those options are available to us.
So if I leave it that I'm happy with 20 subparagraph 1, and that leaves all options open to you, but we think that it's likely to be A, but I'm not binding you to that. Thank you very much. The only other thing I'd like to mention is that we did receive a written submission in relation to an item on last month's agenda. I have responded to that in writing on a one-to-one basis. And also it would be remiss of me not to say thank you to James Gilchrist, who's sitting with us today. It's my last decision session with James. He's been with the authority for a number of years and has been invaluable in helping and guiding and advising. We're sorry to see him go, but we wish you all the best, James, in Durham, and hope that you won't be a stranger to York.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, everybody. That concludes the meeting, unless I've missed something, Reece.
You just said no urgent business.
Ah, yes, I don't have any urgent business. So that's that. Thank you very much.